hearts just get lucky sometimes, don't they? Sometimes in relationships or in friendships or just in making a decision. Sometimes when we follow our heart, it leads us exactly where we wanted to go. But sometimes when we follow our heart, it leads us to places and things we don't want. The thing of just following our heart usually tends to confuse us. Have you ever been told that, to just follow your heart? I know I have, and it definitely confuses me, especially when I watch a Nicholas Sparks movie. And guys out there, just think about The Notebook. So when I first watch a Nicholas Sparks movie, my heart's happy and it believes in love. But then it becomes sad because something bad always happens in the movie. But then by the end, it's happy again because two people usually end up together, and throughout the whole movie, I'm just so confused, following my heart, that I just want to find some ice cream and eat my feelings. Seems like I'm not the only one. It can be pretty complicated just following our heart. But people will tell you to do it. They'll put that saying on decorative pillows and coffee mugs and pin it on their Pinterest wall, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Because if we want to live a life that we're happy with and we're proud of, then we shouldn't just follow our heart. What if instead of following our heart, we led with it? Now go with me on this one. I know it sounds a little different than what we've always been told, but leading with our hearts means we're committed to what we do, and once we're committed, we can start inspiring others. Because if we want to know who we are and what we can do in the world to make a difference, that's how it's done, leading with your heart. But first, you have to be committed to what you do. Now, growing up, I was probably like most girls and absolutely loved horses. And lucky for me, my grandparents rode, my parents rode, and I was on a horse well before I could even walk. My horse, Scarlett, and I have been together since day one. But as much as I rode growing up, they say you're never a true cowgirl until you fall off. Yeehaw. Well, I was about 12 years old at the time and at a state horse show. I was about to run poles, and if you don't know what this is, it's a timed event. You run down past 6 poles, you zigzag through them, you zigzag back, and you run out. It's a lot of fun. Well, my horse, Scarlett, and I were at the back of the arena, and we're getting ready. We're getting pumped up to go. I'm giving her a pep talk. I'm like, yeah, girl, you got this. We got this. It's our birthday. Whoop, whoop. So we're here at the back of the arena. She's getting a little antsy. And it also didn't help that these folks over here were building a concession stand, and the added noise was just kind of making her go a little crazy. Well, we're at the back of the arena, and they call her name. Scarlett and I take off running. I mean, this is going to be a good run. We're about halfway down. And these folks over here building this concession stand decide to turn on a saw or a jackhammer or a chainsaw or something, but it sounded a little bit like this. You think that's obnoxious? Okay, multiply that by 10, and that was about the noise that came from over here. But whatever that noise was, Scarlett's not having any of it, and she stopped dead in her tracks. Now, let's have a quick physics lesson. Newton's first law of motion says an object at rest will stay at rest, and an object in motion will stay in motion with the same speed in the same direction unless acted upon by an outside or an unbalanced force. Well, Scarlett had her own force of stopping her, but I was an object traveling in the same direction with the same speed until something else stopped me, and that something else was the ground. 1 second I'm looking forward, the next second I'm looking right up at my horse's nose, and then it hits me. I had the wind knocked right out of me. I'm not even sure where it went, but it was not there anymore. I sat there just clutching my chest, trying to catch my breath. And I guess I didn't get up quick enough. And pretty soon, my dad and some of the arena crew come running over, and I'm laying on the ground, and my dad looks at me and says, "You okay, Taylor?" I slowly start to get up, and I feel the pain in my head, and my neck, and my back. And I'm still trying to catch my breath. And once I do, I became so frustrated because Scarlett and I actually could have had a really good score, but no, she had to stop and throw me off at a state horse show. And I'm sitting there trying to catch my breath. My dad's just watching me. He says, "You'll be okay. Just take some deep breaths." He continues, "All right, you've got a decision to make. You can either walk out of here with me, or you can get back on your horse and start at what you finished, or finish what you started." Sat here, I thought about it for a little bit. And I thought, the least painful and least embarrassing way out of here just be walk out with my dad and just deal with Scarlett later. But then I remember that they always say the hardest thing to do after you fall off is to get back on your horse. And Mama didn't raise no quitter. So I swallow my frustration, and I tell myself the only way I'm getting out of here is on Scarlett. So I grit my teeth and I get back on her, and we slowly start to finish. Looking back on that day, I had a pretty strong gut check, but I also had a pretty strong heart check. Basically, I was laying in the dirt thinking, Taylor, how much do you really love riding? Because if you love it as much as you say you do, you'll get up and keep going with it, even when it's pretty difficult right now. I was also hoping that no cute boys saw me, but as I looked back on that day, I realized that what my heart was committed to 100% was riding. And even when I hit my lowest, that commitment was able to pull me back up and keep me going. Leading with our hearts means we are 100% committed to what we do. And as I think about that day, I start thinking about other parts of my life, and I question my commitment there. If I hit a low, would I keep going? Probably not in some areas. Which begs the question, if our hearts aren't 100% committed to what we're doing, then why are we even doing it to begin with? If we are not committed to what we're doing, then that's just a wasted action. And we all do things every day, but are we really committed to them? Do you ever stop and ask yourself why you do the things you do? I mean, we all wake up, we go to school, we hang out with friends, we go to work, we go to practice, maybe both. We go home and we go to bed and we do it all over again the next day, but do you ever stop and ask why? What if we started doing things that we cared about, things that our hearts were committed to? We'd see a pretty big change in our lives, wouldn't we? But you want to know the sad thing is? Our world tells us that a lack of commitment is okay. We can change our bio on Instagram and Twitter in 10 seconds. If we don't like a Snapchat story, we can go to the next one. If we don't like the show we're watching on Netflix, well, there's plenty more that we can go choose from. We might be in 7 different organizations or sports at school because we think it'll make us look cool or look good on an application. Now, don't get me wrong, none of these things are bad to do, but they tell us that a lack of commitment is okay. And this trickles over into other parts of our lives. Now, I don't want you to hear this wrong. This isn't an excuse to go home and tell your parents that you're not committed to homework, so you're just not going to do it, or you're not committed to chores, and you're not going to do those either. But this, something a lot deeper than that. It's knowing who we are, what we want to do, and the difference we want to make, and asking ourselves if we're actually 100% committed to that. Because when we look at the world today, there are plenty of people who just follow their heart here and there and never really being committed to anything. But things would be a lot different if we all started committing to what we were doing. Now I can tell some of y'all out there like, preach it, girl. Some people need to be committed. But then some of y'all are probably like, hold up, Taylor. You don't know my heart. It has been neglected, mistreated, and broken too many times to want to commit to anything. But that change that your heart is longing for, starts with you. And once you start seeing that positive change and making that positive change within yourself, you'll start seeing it in everyone around you because you'll start inspiring them as well. Now, riding my horse has always been my preferred mode of transportation, but I have tried running in a half marathon. All right, some of y'all are like, yeah, that's cool. Some of y'all are like, I don't really see that. And it's okay, I won't be too offended, because if you know me, you know that I don't run. And, well, I especially don't run for fun. I don't even think those two things should belong in the same sentence, but whatever. So a few summers ago, I decided I would run in a half marathon with some of my friends. But little did I know how challenging that would actually be. Y'all, 13.1 miles is a lot. I suggested we do a 5K, or I'd just ride my horse through it. But no, we had to run, because it's fun. Well, I figured I should probably try to get into some sort of shape so I could actually complete this. So I started running down my road every day, trying to condition my body and better my time. But y'all, those were some of the toughest and most painful days of my life. My feet and knees became sore just pounding on the pavement day after day. My hands became swollen and the sweat would just burn my eyes. And after doing this for a few weeks, I remember going down one day and just stopping and thinking, Taylor, what are you doing? You don't like running. You are not enjoying this. Your body really isn't even built for this. Why are you doing this? I struggled with the fact that I told my friends I would do it with them and I wanted to, but also that this was pretty painful. Well, when I went looking for an excuse to stop training, I quickly found one. With county and state fairs rolling around and school starting soon, I just kind of put training to the side and focused on things that I actually enjoyed doing. But the day of the half marathon rolled around and I still showed up. Because remember, Mama didn't raise a quitter. So here I am, starting line of this half marathon. My friends beside me, we keep looking nervously at one another with 13.1 miles ahead of us. At this point, we're all thinking, what have we gotten ourselves into? None of us are runners, but here we are at the starting line of a half marathon. I remember looking up and the sky was pretty gloomy. I remember thinking, you know, if the sun could come out, this day could just get that much better. This might be the second worst day of my entire life. As I sat there, I was trying to get myself pumped up, so I was like, you got this, Taylor, you got this, woo, woo, it's your birthday, it's your birthday. Now, you're probably wondering why my friends and I are standing at the starting line of the half marathon when none of us are really runners. Well, we're actually here because of one of our good friends, Whitney Ray. Well, Whit, as I called her. Whit moved to my school in 8th grade, and we instantly hit it off. We were best friends. We had that secret code. We had notes, a notebook full of notes just we passed back and forth all day long. We spent time outside of school together at sleepovers and going to the movies and talking about boys. She was just one of those girls that's a best friend and absolutely lives life to the fullest. And if there's anything in the world Whitney could change, it would be giving every child a home and a family who love them. And that's actually why we were at this half marathon. You see, Whitney's heart and love and passion for her children had spread to her family, and to her friends, and to an entire community. And this half marathon was the start of raising over $350,000 to build a home at a Christian ranch for kids in Whitney's name, even though she was never able to see that impact. You see, the summer before that half marathon is one I'll never forget. It was a hot July afternoon, and I got a call from one of my good friends. She said, Taylor, Whit was in a four-wheeler accident today, and she was just air evacuated to the hospital. It was a pretty sleepless night as I kept my family and my phone pretty close. The next day, was the worst day of my life. Whit had unrepairable damage, and that day, I lost a best friend. By far, one of the hardest things I have ever had to go through. A few weeks passes by, and her family knew they wanted to do something to remember Whitney. So building a home for children, that's a perfect way to do that. And that's why we started running and training for that half marathon. But that really didn't make things any easier, because every day running and trying to train was a constant reminder that she wasn't here anymore. The longer that I ran, the more my heart swelled with pain and frustration and loneliness. But on that day of that half marathon, as we came running across that finish line, 13.1 miles later, we look around at one another and think, how in the world did that just happen? Me running a half marathon? That's just not something that happens. But it did. I remember looking over at the group of folks who had run for Whitney in their pink Running for Whitney shirts. And I read the back of them. It said, "A ray of hope." And just as I did, I looked up and realized that the sun had finally come out. And I smiled what felt like the first real smile in months. Whitney Ray just shining her ray of hope on all of us. When I think about that day, I see that Whitney's heart led all of us to do something we never would have done. I never would have run a half marathon, but for Whitney, I would have ran around the world for that girl. When we're committed to what we do, we then start inspiring those people around us. Because passionate people make other people passionate. And when we're committed to our friends and our family members and our teammates, they in turn become inspired to be committed as well. But this also has the opposite effect. Because if we aren't committed to our teams or our families and we're not committed to what we do, we in turn don't inspire others, and we give them permission to not even care. But when we're committed, we inspire others. Do you ever look at others and say, man, they are fired up for something. I should be fired up for something too? You ever watch one of those reality TV shows where someone's trying to find love or lose weight or win a singing show? Doesn't it make you want to find love and chase your dreams? I know I'm sitting on the couch back home like, man, I need to get my life in order. These people have got some passion. What is it that fires you up? Is it love? Is it hope? Is it patience? Is it kindness? Is it friendship? Whatever it is, be on fire for it and encourage everyone around you. Passionate people make other people passionate. And this past year, as I've traveled around the country, I've met so many members who are on fire for their chapters and their communities. These chapters include seeing the Lincoln Middle School in Florida have a passion for growing their own food. These members include seeing the Byron Nelson High School in Texas have a passion for training seeing eye dogs for those who need them. It also includes seeing the Ivana Eudora Keene High School in the Virgin Islands have a passion for teaching their community about agriculture through aquaponics. Be the person that fires others up. What is it that gets you excited? What is it that you want to be on fire for? Commit to it. At some point in your life, and maybe even now, you'll be facing a pretty big decision and struggling that battle if you should just follow your heart or not. And people will tell you to just follow your heart, but it doesn't work, and you'll just end up eating a whole lot of ice cream. But if I've learned anything this year, is that our hearts have to be committed to what we do, or it's a waste of time. Figure out what you're committed to, and then start inspiring others because of it. Lead with your heart, be committed, and inspire others. Your heart's right there. It's there beating in your chest, calling for you to lead with it. Our hearts weren't meant to hide. They were meant to be led with. Lead with your heart, be committed, and inspire others. Thank you all for inspiring me with your hearts this year. FFA members, life really is better if you lead with your heart.
This year, thank you for keeping us focused with your intentional thoughts and desire for growth. Your love for boar goats, the SAU mule riders, and your truck bub was only surpassed by your love of family and your love of FFA members. You stand firm in your values and have faith to see things through to the end. Throughout this year, we have been constantly amazed by your drive and work ethic. Thank you for being a teammate who encourages, reflects, and lifts palms up every day. Transform, take action, and love always. Abby, Sydney, Nick, Abra, and Sarah. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2015-2016 National FFA President, Ms. Taylor McNeel from Arkansas.